So you can all hear me. That's good. And can I hear you? Please say something. Yes, I can hear you as well. It's so amazing that I'm sitting here in the south of England and you are sitting there in Gaza, and we can see and hear each other. It's wonderful.
Yes, wonderful.
Ah, fantastic.
Can we start recording?
I can't hear you. Say again.
Can we start the recording?
Yes.
Okay.
So, good morning, everybody. And we are going to spend a little time now looking at the classroom drama and connected speech. And I think maybe you can see my PowerPoint. Can you?
Yes.
Okay. So let me go to here we are. There are two things today. One is using the camera in remote plays. And the second is rehearsing clear English speech with your kids. And so I'd like to look at both of those. The first one then is using the camera. Now let me ask you, how many of you are going to make a play this year with your class? Can you raise your hand if you are going to make a play? Okay. And if you have already made a play in the past, can you raise your hand?
Have you ever made a play?
Okay. Well, what we're going to look at is useful if you are making a play, but it's also useful in your general lessons. First, let's look at using a camera in remote plays. When you rehearse a remote play in your class, this is the question: how can the actors make use of the camera? Because of course, the camera is very simple. It's a mobile phone probably, and you can't move it. So there's a very limited area in front of the camera where the students can act. So this is the question: how can actors make use of the camera? And we're going to watch a play performed by boys in Nats, a play called Welcome to Earth. It's on YouTube, so you can see it there, but we'll look at it now. And you can see that these are the boys who are in it. And here is the teacher. And while we watch this, think about how they interact with the camera. And we'll watch the play, and then we'll look at how they interact. I think the play is lovely, I must say. The script is good, and the boys are so natural and so energetic. And I think that they do a very good job in this play, and you can see it and see what you think. But it's also a good play to take to ask the question, what else can we do with the camera? How else can the actors interact with the camera? So that's the question. And can you think about that while we watch this play? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let me now find the play. So wait 1 minute, because I'm going to come back to the PowerPoint, and now I'm going to find, I'm going to share, and I'm going to find this play, which is here. Let's see if you can, tell me if you can see this. Can you see that? I mean, can you hear it? Maybe you can't hear it. Let me just try again.
We can see it.
Sorry?
It's part of the play.
Did you, was it playing? I'm just going to try that again because maybe I didn't get it right. Okay, so this is the play Welcome to Earth.
Oh, we've landed safely.
I can tell you otherwise. This is a play made by boys' school in Ghana. Yeah.
And now, let's see, what shall we do?
Yeah.
We should try to find somewhere to live.
On air.
I think we should look for a good, safe place, my friends. Let's go and look in different places, then get back here. Everyone tells us where they go. Okay.
Okay, well,
Bye. Bye.
there are many wars in air. Humans kill each other. They use bad weapons. Their weapons kill many children. How could this happen on air?
I've seen many poor people, homeless, looking for food. No one looks at them. There is too much food on air, but many people are still hungry.
Well, I was in a big city. There were many cars. They smelled of very bad cats. So much pollution air. So much pollution air.
I don't think humans on earth are so bad. I'm lucky. I've seen nice, good people. Farmers grow crops. Teacher teach children at school. Doctor help sick people. Oh. Well, the weather on Earth is getting worse because of the humans' activities. They cut so many trees. Earth is getting hotter and hotter, and its ice is melting.
Oh, this is so bad. So let us arrive on air.
So, what should we do, my friends? Shall we stay or look for life on another planet?
Earth is beautiful. We will stay here and make another place. Tell our mother, we love you.
Okay. Did you see that? Did you see the play, Life on Earth? Oh, sorry, Welcome to Earth, because I'm not sure if it was visible at your end.
Adrian, it was visible and we saw it clearly. Yeah.
It was visible and clear.
Yes.
Good. Okay, now, let me go back to the screen. So this is the question about the interaction with the camera. I thought that they interacted very well. I thought they were charming and energetic actors. And they told a very good story. Now, what I'd like to look at is different ways of interacting with the camera. Here is, can you see my screen, the PowerPoint screen?
Yes, yes.
You can, okay. Well, look, here is the dialogue.
The script.
There are 4 pages, so you've already heard that. Here's the second page of the dialogue. The blue is just the stage instructions, not the dialogue. Here's the third page. And the 4th page, which is the final one. So here's my question. How do they use the camera, and how else could they use the camera? Let's take this. One option would be that they could report to their base. So they're using the camera to look at the people back at their base on their home planet and telling them about this strange and beautiful blue planet. So that this would be one use of the camera. They look straight into the camera and they are actually addressing their colleagues, their bosses, their team back on the home planet and telling them about the discoveries they have made on this new strange blue planet. And there would be a particular relationship. Those 5 guys who've arrived on the blue planet looking directly at their colleagues at home. And of course, we, the audience, would then see them looking at us, and we would know that they were addressing their people at home. Now, when the actors know exactly who they are addressing, for example, they're addressing their people back at home, reporting to base, it gives them a very clear context in which to speak. Hey folks, this is what we've found. What a strange place. Do you know how they behave here? These are the things we've observed. And it gives them a context and therefore an intonation. And it enables them to speak from the heart because they've established the other side of the relationship. Now, the way that they do it, as we've seen it, I think is very good, and I'm certainly not critical of that. I love this play. But we are now looking at ways of using the camera, which is like asking, what is the relationship that they are establishing? What is their reason for speaking? Who are they speaking to? A second way they could use it is talking to each other. And here we would see them, as we do in the video we've just watched, talking to each other in front of the camera, but not to the camera. In this case, they would not be looking at the camera, but looking at each other. And we would see them listening to each other and interacting with each other. So that is a second scenario where there is a relationship. The relationship is each other. They are speaking to each other, and therefore we can see some kind of reaction from the people that are listening. And we are then looking through the camera as outsiders they are not looking at the camera but at each other. So that's a second quite different kind of scenario. But again, it gives a very clear relationship. They are speaking to each other. And when you know the relationship, it's much easier to find the intonation, and it's much easier to speak from the heart. Or I should put it the other way around. When you know the relationship, you can speak from the heart and therefore find the intonation. So those are two clear and different kinds of relationship. Number one, they're talking to their friends back at home and therefore looking right into the screen, into the eyes of the people back at home. Number two, they are not looking at the screen but at each other and interacting with each other. And there is a sign that their colleagues are listening to them, even if not saying things necessarily in return. And then there's a third scenario where they are actually talking to us, the audience, the people who are watching. And there, of course, they might well be looking into the camera, but addressing us, the audience, and not their bosses at home. In this case, they are very much acting to us because we are audiences at a play. And here they are being actors and dramatizing for our benefit the situation that they have found themselves in. So, of course, you will have thought of other situations, but here are three ways of thinking about using the camera, because the camera is fixed. There is no, we do not zoom the camera. It is completely static, and therefore we have to be clear and inventive about how to use it. And in others of the plays that you have done and your colleagues have done, I've seen really inventive uses of the camera. But the question behind it all is, what is the relationship? Who are the actors speaking to? The audience, each other, in this case, perhaps people on the home planet, or of course, they might be speaking to other people, people that are outside the picture, or even people that are outside the play. So that really is something about using the camera. And the point is that here they are actually speaking to someone. And in the first and third of these cases, they are making eye contact with the camera. And in the first case, they're making eye contact with their bosses at home. But since they are looking into the camera, they're also looking at us, the audience. And in the third case, they are looking, of course, at us. They're addressing us, the audience. I'm going to pause there and ask you if you have any other thoughts about this, how to use the camera, because I know that some of you have already done this. So I'm going to stop share just for a moment and see if I can see you, which I can. So hello again. This is a time for you to respond, because I've been talking for a few minutes now. Any thought that you have about camera, the difficulty of cameras, or about that play that we saw just now? So please say.
So I thought from, after watching the play, I thought that they were talking to each other, not to the people back at home planet. Then at the end of the dialogue, they were like talking to the people on Earth, like this is our planet, we have to keep it. Or...
Yes, I agree. That's what I thought, and I thought they were doing it very well too. They were talking to each other. If I were rehearsing that play again, I would like to help them perhaps to respond to each other when they're talking to each other, because sometimes they looked as if they were just saying their lines rather than saying them to each other. But I agree with you. Yeah, thank you for that point.
I just would like to, and I would say that even if they are talking to each other, it is very important not to give their backs to the camera. I mean, the audience, because in the end, they are not acting to each other, they are acting to the audience. So even if they are talking to each other, they need just to stand in a way that, you know, the audience can see the facial expressions, and they can see, you know, the way they act.
Yeah, this is a very good point, because you know, there are different layers to it, aren't there? Even if the actors are talking to each other, why are they doing it? They're doing it for the audience. So they have to be talking to each other in such a way that they are catching the audience attention and pulling us in to their drama. And so first they need to be engaged in talking to each other, so that we see we, the audience, see an engagement and are pulled in. And secondly, they have to somehow remember that although they are engaged in talking to each other, they're doing it for an audience, different levels.
Yeah. And I think as the theme of the play, like aliens coming to the earth, the beginning might be more dramatic if they just enter the frame of the camera in a different way. Like
I know.
I don't know, there are so many ideas.
There are lots of ideas there, aren't there? You could imagine, you know, 5 people suddenly arriving on this planet. Go on.
And even the base between the audience or those who are performing the play and the camera, they were like so close to it, and sometimes they're like, I mean,
yes.
So they should keep a space, or they keep the space between them and the camera in order to let us be visible and be clear to the to those who are watching this play.
Yeah, they were very good at keeping visible in the camera, and they made good use of it by going off stage and on stage and off stage and on stage. But I do agree with the previous point. If I was rehearsing the play again, I would look at different beginnings, different ways of arriving on the planet. Not just walking onto the screen, but some other little dramatic ways of arriving. Please go on. Any other points you would like to say? I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I think the way they used the camera was really good, but I didn't feel that it was flowing with them. It was like a cliche. I was told to come from the other side,
yeah,
the other one, but it wasn't flowing. I didn't feel it. It was like,
I think you put your finger on it there. They were doing what they thought they should do, but it wasn't really flowing because they weren't actually living the action themselves. They were doing the words, but not living the action while they were doing them.
Yeah. But I think their interaction with the camera was really good. But
yes,
that's my point. They didn't live the action.
Yeah, they didn't live the action, but and this is all tough stuff. I mean, I'm not sure that I could do that now, but when I was their age, I would not have known how to act in front of a camera at all. But the point is, this is a fantastic opportunity to bring the language to life. And even though it's only a few minutes long, it's an enormous experience which can sort of color the rest of one's language learning. Thank you. Any other points?
I can understand why the students may I mean, they didn't act very well. Maybe they are very good actors, but you know, the idea of remote theater is a bit different because students have to look at the camera all the time, or most of the time, and they have maybe new, different tools from acting to real audience. They are looking at the camera, and they are not audience. Actually, they are looking at themselves. And this is another, you know, challenge. Yeah, challenge and pressure maybe for them.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a challenge. I find it difficult. For one thing, when we're looking at a camera, as I am at the moment, if I look at my face, my eyes are looking in the wrong direction because the lens of the camera is somewhere else. So even when you're using these mobile phones and things, it's hard to look at the lens. However, I mean, I agree with your point, but I think what I want to add is that there was a dimension there. I mean, they did make good use, they made great use of the camera, but there was another dimension which they could have exploited, which was them having in their minds that they are talking to their friends back at home, and therefore speaking directly into the camera because that's where their friends are, behind the camera, so to speak.
So I thought that at the beginning, but when in the last lines they said that this is our home, I thought that they are just like addressing the people of the earth.
Sorry, when you saw the last line, this is our home, you thought they were like what?
They like living on the earth.
Yes.
Addressing not their people back home, they are just addressing the new planet, the people of the new planet.
Yes. And should they have, you know, should they have asked permission of the people back at home? Did they suddenly become humans? Their mission, I think, was to try to help the people on Earth, wasn't it? They wanted to stay here and to help us to sort out our problems.
Yeah, it's just like you said, that just out of the sudden, they became turned from aliens to human being, the people of the earth. We just want to take care of the earth. So as if now they are not aliens, they are people on the earth. And they give just like a promise that they are going to behave differently.
It's very touching, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it's a lovely ending.
So they are like using their identity like as aliens and becoming humans.
Yes. Well, they're making a sacrifice on our behalf, aren't they? Now, let's just have a look at another side of this, which is, I talk about speaking from the heart, and I think speaking from the heart really means it's the difference between speaking the words, because the words are what are on the page or in the script, and actually feeling what you are saying. And if you can feel what you're saying, you will say it differently, perhaps with more intonation, perhaps with more dramatization, and perhaps in a way that will draw in audience and listeners. And I think this is also connected with the camera, which is, it's all about relationships. And if our students are struggling with the language, it's very difficult for them to establish a relationship through that language. However, the great thing about these plays is that they are so short, and therefore each actor has only a few lines, and it is quite possible for everyone to study these lines in some depth so that they get a feeling for how the language works just in those 5 or 6 lines that they each speak. And I'd like to look and this is links to the last webinar that we had together a few months ago. I'd like to look at some of those lines and explore with you how simple ways to bring them to life. So let's go back to screen share, and we're going to look at the lines of the play, which are here, I think. Let's see now. I'm going to put this on big screen, I think. Can you see that?
Yes.
And now we've looked at that screen. Let's go on to the, so making clear connected English. So that a play is easy to comprehend for people in other countries, we need to look at pronunciation, vowels, stress and unstress, speed and sense groups. And what I'd like to focus on right now is the
Sense groups.
Sense groups, yes. And then I'd like to, now, what, one or two questions first. What do you understand by the idea of sense group?
Like chunks of language?
Yeah, I think it's a good description, chunk. It's 3 or 4, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 words that go together and somehow make one meaning. And we can see here, where's the first sense group? It could be here, so that a play, or perhaps it's a bit bigger, so that a play is easy to comprehend. That could be a sense group. And the next sense group could be this one.
For people,
In other countries, yes. And down at the bottom, this could be a sense group using Welcome to Earth. And that might be another one as an example. It's not absolutely fixed what is a sense group, but they are the words which go together, and they are the words which are connected up, so that if we look at this, so that a play, and you can hear that in each case, I don't say so that a play, but so that, so that, so that a, so that a, so that a play. And all those words are joined together, so that a play. And likewise here, is easy, is easy to comprehend, is easy to comprehend. So you have one sense group, so that a play, another sense group is easy to comprehend. And then in the speaking, I can say something like this, so that a play is easy to comprehend. And you notice that there's a kind of, there can be a pause here, and there can be a pause here. And this is what helps speakers of English to understand that there is a sense group and a pause, so that a play is easy to comprehend for people in other countries. So it's like in the sense group, everything's joined up, but between sense groups, it's not. Now, it's not always like that, of course, in rapid English, but it's a really useful way for students to learn. So we're going to have a look at sense groups in just a moment in that play, Welcome to Earth. But let me ask you about a second thing, which we're also going to look at, stress and unstress. Tell me what you understand by what you think of about stress and unstress.
I think the most important words in the text.
Syllables that have the loudest and said in more energy.
Louder.
Stress the significant words.
Okay, so the stress is on just a syllable, and that stress, so if we look here, let's take this word here. This word comprehend has 3 syllables, but one of them has the word, has the stress. Which syllable will you stress here?
Comprehend, the last one.
This is the last one here. So it's going to be like comprehend. And if you listen, I'm going to try and say it real slow and listen to what my voice does in order to stress this syllable. comprehend, comprehend. Can you hear what my voice is doing? Comprehend. It's a bit, on this syllable, it's a bit louder.
Louder and longer.
And longer. And even a little bit higher. So it's comprehend, hen, goes up a bit. Comprehend, comprehend. And these ones, by contrast, this one, are very short. Comprehend.
Faster.
So, but faster and shorter and softer and quieter. So, Arabic makes use of stress and unstress. So it's not a new thing. And the point about English is it makes an even bigger difference between the stressed syllable and the unstressed. We'll look at this also in a moment when we look at the play. Here's a third factor to bear in mind. Always useful, always, always, always useful. Just speak more slowly. Kind of, yeah, it's, I don't know why we always forget in our own language or in a foreign language. Somehow it's easy to lose something of the feeling when we speak so quickly. And especially in the foreign language. And linked to this is pausing. So we're just going to look at those 4 ideas now. And we'll take Welcome to Earth as an example. So here we are, we've got the first line or the first page of the play. And this is in fact 1/4 of the play here. And so we're going first to look for the sense groups.
Yes. So I guess
now,
there's 2
where would you put the first sense group?
After the owls.
Could just be there, couldn't it? Oh,